Good evening, everyone. Today I'll be talking about the increase in the minimum wage to $15 an hour, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. The minimum wage has been in the center of the minimum wage has been the center of attention throughout America for the past few years. The Fight for 15 movement and the officials who opposed that fight have created some sort of a conflict or a conflict of some sort. People who are fighting for the $15 raise tend to overlook the unknown consequences that sudden raise might cause. When they look at it, they only look at the bright side or the good part where they will earn they will be earning more money, thus having a better life. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Writer Louis Jacobson opposes the fight for 15 by stating that the lack of academic studies means there is uncertainty about what would happen what would happen with an increase that big. In a worst case scenario, some economists say that kind of increase could cause more problems than it solves. Economist Alan Kruger, in his article The Minimum Wage: How Much is Too Much, says research suggests that a $15 an hour national minimum wage would put us in uncharted waters and risk undesirable and unintended consequences. Raising the federal minimum wage to a $15 an hour is one thing for bigger cities where the cost of living is already more expensive. However, Washington Post columnist Catherine Rampell addresses the impact of such a high raise on rural areas. She said it would likely throw many, many more people out of work. This reveals the complexity of the dilemma. Due to the lack of studies and statistical facts regarding the raise to 15, the federal minimum wage should not be raised to $15 an hour, but instead it should be gradually increased to a more moderate and a more reasonable sense or a more reasonable level, around $10 to $12 an hour, so that it does not cause a drop in either the country's economy or the employment rate. Economists Gary Burtless and Alan Kruger's opinions are mentioned in a credible source to support the moderate raise opinion. The former says it is very hard to believe that the minimum wage hike to $15 would produce the same adverse impact on employment as a hike to just $10.10. The latter states, I am confident that the federal minimum wage that rises to around $12 an hour over the next 5 years or so would not have a meaningful negative effect on the United States employment. Moreover, Mike Consul, a fellow with the Roosevelt Institute in New York, says raising the minimum wage to a $10.10 an hour, as many Democrats are proposing for the year 2014, would reduce the number of people living in poverty by 4.6 million. It would also boost the incomes of those at the 10th percentile by $1,700. Another study says that through that increase or that raise in the minimum wage, it will lift 900,000 families out of poverty and increase the incomes of 16.5 million low-wage workers in an average week. Some people might be concerned that raising a minimum wage would cause or result in the loss of their jobs. However, reporter Brad Plumer addresses an important misconception that a moderate raise of the federal minimum wage would kill jobs by stating potential solutions. According to him, employers can respond by cutting back any benefits or hours of training. Companies might actually save more money from a minimum wage hike because there's less employers' turnover, and companies can raise their prices in response. It is true jobs will not be lost, but unfortunately, there will be sacrifices that will accompany the moderate increase of the minimum wage. Reporter Michelle Yi-Hee Lee states, when a minimum wage is increased and a person's income increases or rises as a result, he or she pays more in taxes and receives less in benefits. But the extent of the impact depends based on the person's marital status, number of children, types of federal or state benefits the family receives, and the state in which he or she lives. She then further elaborates on what these sacrifices could be by providing some examples. She mentions the temporary assistance of needy families, TANF, cash assistance, supplemental nutrition assistance program, SNAP, which the program that is most commonly known or popularly known for the food stamps, medic aid, housing assistance, utility assistance, women, infant, children programs, the WIC. She says if the minimum wage increases to $10.10, some people who are currently eligible for medic aid would no longer be qualified. But the potential downside of the loss of benefits should outweigh the gains that will result from the rise of the from the rise in the minimum wage. Delineating the importance of where a person lives regarding such governmental benefits brings into focus the next critical aspect or issue regarding the minimum wage. Up to this point, it has been established that the federal minimum wage should be gradually increased to a moderate amount. Moreover, what is considered the moderate raise of the minimum wage should be negotiated by all state officials, since the economies and costs of living enormously vary from one state to another. Where the cost of living is relatively steep, a $15 an hour minimum wage might put more money into the pockets of workers while eliminating relatively few jobs. Think of countries such as New York, San Francisco, Chicago, and Seattle. On the other hand, in economically troubled Kansas, Kentucky, Idaho, the current federal minimum wage of $7.25 is arguably already too high related to the labor productivity. Taking these factors into consideration, the state officials should reach a consensus as to what the gradual moderate amount is before deciding a random value, like the Fight for 15, into which the federal minimum wage will be raised. They should take into account the lives of all Americans all over the country. After all, it is called the United States of America for a reason. And thank you.